In this episode of the Breathing Podcast, we've got so many breathing techniques for you. Some how to release internal pressure, reoxygenate, reinvigorate, balance your pH levels, connect your hemispheres of the brain. Man, there's so many, I can't even list them all here right now. For you at home, stick around, get ready to do some breath work. You gotta exhale to inhale. Make your breath work like a wind girl. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to episode 1 of the Breathing Podcast. I'm Tim Kelly, creator of Zen Hailing, and inspired to do the Breathing Podcast because everywhere I go, and just about the first thing out of my mouth is, how you doing? How you breathing? So, I'm very passionate about breath work, all the different tricks that are there for all of us to use, not just performers and athletes and yogis and Zen masters, but everybody. Everybody has an arsenal of tools that they can use to either navigate tumultuous times or in life, anxiety and stress, learn how to invigorate, learn how to delay the onset of nerves, and also delay the onset of acidosis and like things like lactic acid, just with your breath work, just with breathing exercises. So today we're going to get right into it in this episode, and I'm going to kind of treat it just like you watching at home are one of my clients. So, just like if we're doing one of the Skype breathwork sessions that we provide here, so anybody out there who wants a session, you just hook it up online, and basically you're with your camera and it's breathing. So why breathing? Most of us, what happens is, we all come into this life in perfect rhythm with our breath, and then the stresses of life, we lose it. So when we lose that rhythm of breath, or we need that recalibration, we need some of the tools and exercises to actually do that. So, what's normally a automatic nervous system thing, we almost have to kind of help refire that so it can just be unconscious again. Many of you at home don't have a breathwork practice or never really did any breathwork exercises. So, for me, it's important to give some fundamentals. And one of the fundamentals before you're even going to sit down and do breathing or even meditation is to release some of that excess energy, internal pressure that's trying to bubble out. Because what happens is you need to be able to relax a little bit and get into it. And whether you're using your breath to relax, you also need to put your body in a good physical position. So that's why in meditation we talk about the posture and alignment of meditation. And that's the same with breath work. So if we're going to sit down and do some breath work, at the end of the day, a lot of times our shoulders are hunched up. We're really kind of just in a lot of pain and discomfort. And some of the first things are to just kind of loosen up. So if you're at home, just follow along a little bit. Maybe just roll your neck clockwise or counterclockwise, or point your chin to 6 o'clock all the way up to 12 o'clock. And notice what you're doing with your shoulders. So if you're sitting down like me, maybe you want to grab the back of the chair and then just keep your shoulders. You can actually lift them up first, back and down, and then just continue to loosen up the neck. The neck gets attached to the thoracic cavity and the lungs. So this is going to help to breathe. You need that thoracic, that rib expansion when you're breathing. So a lot of times when you're taking a deep breath, you want to be in a good position. You want to be kind of with your spine stacked properly, so that way your respiratory diaphragm's in a good curve. So if you're too far forward like that, that's going to kind of prohibit you from really taking some deep breaths or staying deep in a breathwork practice. And that's why a lot of times we'll lay down. So for beginners, just like in a yoga class, we'll lie students down and they can lie down, and then what happens is the respiratory diaphragm is at a good angle, and then they can easily start to do the complete breath where they start with belly breathing. Just bringing your breath into your belly. So you're bringing your inhale into your belly, letting it distend out. Maybe hanging with the pause a little bit, and then letting it out. And a little trick is if you put your index fingers and your thumbs together and put them right above your navel or umbilicus, then when you breathe, you take a good inhale in. When you expand like this, you'll see on the inhale, my belly distends, my fingers separate, and then on the exhale, it reapproximates. So anyway, just little tricks. That's usually very good if you're lying down. You can also put one hand on your belly, one on your heart, and when you're doing the complete breath or the Durga breath, then when you're taking a complete inhale and you're breathing deep into your belly first, and then bringing it up into your heart. So you're kind of creating a little seesaw mechanism. And again, just like any type of Wim Hof or that, these are the type of breaths that you can do every day just to kind of start to wake up, start to refire. So 30 deep breaths to oxygenate or reinvigorate. And also, the exhale is the most important with all that because it's getting rid of the CO2 where then your body's going to intuitively balance your pH levels as you're just doing normal deep breathing. So anyway, again, that one is hand on the belly, one on the heart space, and then when you inhale, it's into the belly first. One more time. So again, in like yoga classes, they're usually some of the two first breaths that you learn. Belly breathing and the Durga breath, the complete breath, where then you're using all three parts of your thoracic cavity, full capacity of your lungs. And again, it's usually to either cool down after a class or in the beginning to start to oxygenate. So again, just like a Wim Hof breathing in the beginning where you're trying to saturate your body with oxygen with 30 deep breaths. This is a little bit of the same thing. You can do 30, but take it easy. You don't need to struggle. One of the biggest things with any type of breath work, it's in all the yoga journals, is, breath work should never be labored. You should never be really struggling. So, you might even see me teaching this stuff or doing it and, struggling a little bit. So you have to kind of work within your means, but especially beginners or somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience, you want to treat this very easy. So anyway, some of the things we do in a session, first I want to get to know what's happening with you. Why do you want a session? And look, we're all wired the same way. So even though I'm teaching this stuff, I still have anxiety and stress in my life. I still have, different times where I need to turn it on or shut it down. So I always need the tools. In fact, recently, probably 2 months ago, I had something happening with my head. So people that know me know I like to do a lot of headstands and inversions, and I must have done way too many, and my body was getting crunched up. And then what happened was I got a big sty on my eye. So I was like, what the hell is going on? And it just so happens that my mentor, my Indian mother, Asha, was over here from India, and she looked at me. She's like, what are you doing? You need to stay off your head. And then the first breathing technique she gave me, and she told me to do it 45 days straight, so I did, is alternate nostril breathing. So you guys know I teach this, but even though I teach it, I'm lazy, I'm lacking, I'm not as focused in my life sometimes, and I'm not doing it on a daily. So because I wasn't doing it on a daily, what was happening is, first of all, the inversion's way too much energy in the head up here. So when you live in the brain or your cerebral, then one of the tricks to get it out, a Zen trick, is boom, bring yourself into the body. And a lot of times we could do that with breath work, with expulsions, or sound, ha, or yeah, or yuts, different katsu shouts, or all those different releases of internal pressure, breath work techniques. They're all things to kind of bring you out of the moment. So when you're having performance anxiety and, you have to go on stage or on air, or, you're a professional player and, you're struggling and you need to reset, a lot of that's going to be with your breathing. So using the techniques of your breathing. So for Nadi Sadhana, alternate nostril, we'll do a quick session here for you at home. Follow along. First starts with your index finger and middle finger. You're going to put that on your third eye. You're going to use your thumb to close your right nostril and your ring finger to close your left. So first, close your left. Take a nice inhale in through the right. Closing right. Exhaling left. Inhaling left. Closing. Exhaling right. Inhaling right. Closing right. Exhaling left. Inhaling left. Closing. Exhaling right. And you repeat that pattern. So I cut that short, but you can see, for you experiencing that for the first time, you might be stuffed up on one side a little bit more than the other, and you might be wondering, why the hell am I even doing this breath? Alternate nostril breath is Nadi Sadhana, alternate nostril breathing, and what it does is help to fire the nadis in the brain, the nerves, refire. What it's doing is connecting yin and yang. So when you breathe through that left nostril, it's actually going to the right brain. And when you breathe through the right nostril, it's going to the left brain. So that left nostril to the right brain, that's the female brain, the yin, and this is the yang. So a lot of times we get stuck in that. So that's where I'll talk about all the time. I've got my game face on, or we get stuck in a little too passive mode, or, just not able to do anything, not be able to be powerful. And it's because we're stuck in a certain mode. So we need to break out of that. So my experience with doing this breath for 45 days straight, the first 10 days, I was feeling it in my head. So this is also one of those breaths that, people talk about with people with Alzheimer's or PTSD or your brain. And I can tell you, I was experiencing some of the same thing. I mean, I've been hit a ton of times in my head. I've had many concussions. So I don't know how much PTSD I have, but I could tell you, I could feel at that moment when I had some sort of either blockage or lymphatic blockage where I'm having a sty in my eye, I have too much energy going in my head. This helped to then, the first 10 days, move it from left to right. And then I started tapping it out, boom, with little tapping exercises. And again, this is not just if you're having problems. This is a great way just to even prepare yourself for breath work. So you're really just taking your index fingers and your tips of your fingers and tapping alternately and continuously, top of the head, temples, right on the skull and forehead, right here on the different meridians, on the lymphatic of the face, tapping out the jaw, tapping out the neck, tapping out the chest a little bit, waking up, boom. And that's a good wake up. Now I'm going to sit down and do some breath work. So, just preparing the body a little bit before you're going to do some of these techniques. A lot of times I have the stick. So if you don't have a Z stick, you can grab a broomstick. And again, just even putting the stick back here, sitting to the edge. It keeps my respiratory diaphragm at a great angle. Just work the neck a little bit. Boom. And now, instead of I'm sitting for long periods of time and collapsing, now I'm still staying at a good, proper angle to do breath work. So again, I can't overestimate enough doing Nadi Sadhana, alternate nostril breathing, again, to balance the hemispheres of the brain. I'll do this if I sit down and do something creative. I'm sitting down and doing some screenwriting, and I want to kind of just be more balanced. I'll do a round of alternate nostril breathing. So again, it helps to connect that intuitive and analytical, that male and female, that left and right brain. So try Nadi Sadhana, alternate nostril breathing. We went over tapping a little bit, again, as a preparatory for breath work. So if you want to do any type of preparatory breath work, tapping's good. Again, any type of stretching, wall stretch, any type of hanging is great, just to kind of open up the shoulders, open up the front of the body. Again, what you do in the anterior affects the posterior. So just like the neck rolls. So, one of the other breathing techniques that I want to talk about is ways of continuing to release internal pressure. This is sports science. This is information that's great for people with asthma, for severe anxiety. If you're over medicating, these are great techniques to help kind of, the way to deal with any of this kind of stuff, is internal, because that's the thing that doesn't get away. You have to deal with the internal. So the internal starts with breathing. Even if you're going to sit down and try and meditate, you can't meditate if you don't have good breath work going and good comfort and breath work where you're then on autopilot and letting go, and then you can see where the magic and the technology comes in. Most of this is about letting go. So when we're experiencing this, again, if panic comes in, you're having a difficult time, stress and anxiety, 5 techniques. I talk about it all the time. First starts with a cleansing breath, just like in yoga. It's an expulsion breath. So all these are versions of expulsion breath. All different expulsion breaths. They're exhales, either elongated or short and sharp, but and a lot of times in conjunction with body movement, but they release internal pressure. Releasing internal pressure is the stress and anxiety that's there. So instead of pushing it back down, it's about releasing it and going with it. So, and we have to do this, on the continuum. This is one of those things, it's a practice, breath work practice. You can do this anywhere. You don't have to be sitting down. You just need to be in a comfortable position, but you could do this practice anywhere. In the car, you could do it anywhere. I could do this practice. I do it often in the crowd, where there's a lot of people there. That's where I'm employing the breath work. So you guys at home are going to be in front of your boss or in front of your coach or in a stressful situation, and that's where you're going to pull these techniques. So again, the first one is a cleansing breath. Out the nasal passage or out the mouth. And, it could be sharp and short. Or it could be long. So again, they're all different versions. The longer ones are considered yin. Depends how you bark it out, because if you're really barking it out with a lot of vigor, it might be considered yang. But most of the time, it's either a yin way or a yang way. And yin and yang on breath is also inhale and exhale, as described sometimes. So anyway, the second breath, so the first one's a cleansing breath. The second go-to breath that you can go to for stress and anxiety, the release internal pressure, is the boxer breath. So it's just the cleansing breath, but continuous. So just like a boxer, the cleansing breath, you see it all the time when it helps to clear that pathway, but it's also a great release of exhale, clear way for more quicker inhale. It's also a way to not overbreathe. So the same way with the boxer breath. The boxer breath is very similar to skull shining breath, Kabbalah body breath in yoga. And what that does is it builds up a tremendous amount of heat, but it's rapid diaphragmatic expulsions coming out the nasal passage. And again, it builds up a tremendous heat. They call it breath of fire a lot of times. But boxer breath is the same thing. It's going to be... But when a boxer's striking, he's... So they're doing an expulsion. Most of the time they have a mouthpiece in, so they're... But they're also, when they concentrate on the exhale, you make sure you're not over inhaling, and you can actually go a lot longer. When you concentrate on the exhale, you're getting rid of that CO2. So you're delaying the onset of the lactic acid because it's helping to reduce the amount of acidosis, lower the pH or balance the pH levels of your blood, where when it's not balanced and your blood's hot, like yogis know, that's where acidosis, and it's what it sounds like. It's acid. So it's basically acid in your blood system building up. So that's why people with acidosis get gout and then their toes real big, or it's just internal inflammation. So, inflammation or balancing the pH levels also, again, lactic acid, but also acidosis. So the lactic acid is when you're pumping up, your arms are heavy, or people who mountain climb and all, they're well aware of lactic acid, or even, people that's free dive and scuba dive. So again, 2 breaths right there, the cleansing breath or boxer breath. You just got to do it. If I wasn't moving, Kundalini is very similar. Fork finger stab with Kundalini. So again, you don't have to really even be in a violent mindset. You could be fork fingers and piercing through problems and navigating through problems in your life and just. So again, it doesn't have to be anything all dramatic or that. So again, 2 breaths right there to help release internal pressure. The third one, I love it. It starts with sound, and it's Aum. So Aum is, what they'll talk about. Well, Aum's the sound that was created at the beginning of the universe. Joseph Campbell talks about it. It encompasses all sound, all languages, all song, all mantras, everything. But it's also the unstruck sound. So, all sound is created by striking 2 things together, 2 hands, drum on skin, guitar pick on string. But the unstruck sounds like that transformer, just like they talk about, Big Bang. So the vibration, the humming of a transformer, that's that unstruck sound. So that's the vibration that when we chant, the technology hits certain areas. I always talk about it. You can chant Om, and put your hand up here and really feel it shaking. If you put it down in your belly, you don't feel it because it's not targeted to hit that. It's a healing sound current that's targeted to hit a specific area of the body. So Om hits right here at the throat. So what's Om going to do? Om's going to help you release internal pressure. Om's going to maybe clear out some of the old lies, maybe help you speak the truth a little bit easier. It also might be one of those things where a lot of times it helps you tune and tone that area because you're releasing internal pressure. So, that was just probably that. I was trying to talk too fast. That was trying to get, settle down, dude. You know what I mean? Just Om it out. So anyway, Om is a great release of internal pressure. It's also one of the best ways to slow down your breathing. So you can just kind of get in a rhythm, and you're doing such an extended exhale when you're really singing Om. So, what you're doing is letting go of all that CO2 and then making so much room for fresh oxygen with a great inhale. So let me just demonstrate. You guys at home want to try it? Just follow along. I'll do a couple here. And all I'm going to really do is just take a big inhale in and just chant Om and go with it and try and just, extend the duration a little bit. So take first an inhale in. So that's just a couple ohms. And really, that's about 2 breaths in a minute, because that was probably about a minute doing 2 chants. And think about it. It goes back to the mechanics of breathing. When we talk about the mechanics of breathing, people say, take a breath. Remember, 1 breath is an inhale. Pause. The exhale. And the pause. And yogis know this. The magic's in the pause. So when you pause the breath, you still the fluctuations of the mind. So the 60,000 thoughts, the chattering mind, the monkey mind, the 23,000 breaths that were taken, every breath, 4 thoughts. That's how you prep yourself at the end of the day for meditation. You want to let it all go. Take a deep breath, hit the pause. Don't be in a hurry to let it go. Let the oxygen invigorate your body, oxygenate. Start to slow down the mind, bring you in and bring you into the body. And then when you're exhaling, it's the same thing. You're exhaling away some of the stress. The pause on the back end, though, is where you're dealing with the fight or flight. So normally the fight or flight that's coming up, the anxiety in your life, or the moment where, man, my performance, I just laid an egg on that performance. That's where the fight or flight's coming in. So when you let all your breath out on the exhale and go with the pause, start extending that, that's where that panic starts to come in. But there's really no need to panic. That's where you need to put your mind to creating new mental impressions. So whether you're trying to manifest something, or let go of a trauma, or let go of create a new visual impression for you now to operate from, so it's not holding you back, that's where you're creating that new mental impression. Champions do that a lot of times when they're visualizing. That's a tool for visualization. So know that when you're not really holding your breath, but know that it's like being underwater a little bit. When you have no air in there, or you think you have no air in there, remember, you still have much air in there. There's a lot of reserve. There's reserve in your trach. Scuba people know that, and divers know that. There's also, think about it. When you have about 1,500 or 1,600 milliliters of air in your lungs when it's all empty. When you inhale, maybe you're going up to about 5,000 or 5,500 milliliters. So it's not taking you up that much. And the 1,500, even though you feel like you're empty, that's all in the alveoli sacs. That's in your lungs deep. So there's tremendous amount of air. Your blood's still being oxygenated. So the panic's there in your mind and in your body because you haven't experienced it. But the more experience you have with it, the more you then can start to really create lasting mental impressions, extending the duration of the exhale, of the pause on the back end of the exhale. So again, the magic's in the pause. There's a pause between the inhale and exhale, and then between the exhale and you next time you inhale. So go with the pause. Another way to go with the pause, and there's magic in the pause, is Voloma breathing, where it's more intermittent. So if I'm going to play with the pause, it's, on the inhale, it would be one inhale, and then the exhale would be so that's Voloma breathing. And you saw, I'm not using any main technique. The one technique I'm using is the Ujjayi breath. So that's this. That's the ocean sounding breath, the breath of the warrior. It's a, more of an advanced yoga breathing technique, but it's also such a invigorating and oxygenating, and one that I've personally used to get over stressful situations. That's one that definitely works. So, but it's a little bit tricky. It's almost like you close your epiglottis like you're snoring. So that's what happens when you're snoring. It's also what's happening when you're making sound with Om. You're narrowing the epiglottis, the vocals, and all that. So that's why the sound's coming out, and that's why it's extending the duration, not coming out all fast. That's a lot of this breath work. It brings up a point with a lot of this breath work. It's either nose or mouth, but most of it's out the nose because, breathing techniques like the dog breath, where you're, it's very healing. You can kind of rid yourself of diseases, but it's sticking your tongue out like the dog and just. But that's also more, you're very prone to hyperventilate, which is also kind of Wim Hof. That's a little bit of the, what some people are, who don't have experience, doing some of the Wim Hof. It's, you're saturating your body, but, again, none of that needs to be labored. So there's different ways to saturate your body. So never do it where, like that dog breath, you're taking a tremendous amount of oxygen in right away. And a lot of times you get lightheaded, or people, will get lightheaded, and you're not ready for it. So again, how you do this, the manner that you do it, how you prepare yourself, the mindset, it's all going to take. And again, this softens you up from the inside. This prepares your external and keeps you internal. So nobody's going to know. This increases your composure, your attitude, your grace. This is going to have a big effect on your life. But again, they're only tools if you take them out of your tool bag and start to use them. And when you start to use them on a daily or even on the weekly, that's when, what they always talk about, emotional excitement hijacks your breathing rate, making it irregular. So if you can learn the breathing techniques, you can halt emotional excitement, when it happens in the moment. And that's true. I've been able to do it, and there's a lot of people that can do it. However, when you're getting hijacked by the emotions and all, and you're not in control of your body vehicle, which is mind, body, breath, then, good luck remembering, oh yeah, I need to pull the alternate nostril breathing, or, that expulsion breath that Zen healing's telling me. Good luck. So again, a lot of this has to be almost muscle memory. So when we practice a lot of times, it becomes muscle memory. It becomes embedded in our fabric, in our DNA a little bit, and in, the front of our consciousness. So again, we're bringing our consciousness and our awareness to our breath. And remember, what's most satisfying for me about teaching breathing and is when somebody actually discovers it, and then they're so stoked. But, for me, I know if you can affect somebody's breathing, you can really affect almost every waking moment of their life. Because, if they're struggling with their breathing, or then all of a sudden they're freer and then they have a freeness about them, that's going to translate into whatever they're doing. They're going to be, that's that tightness that they talk about. I do a lot of body work and hands-on, I guess what you call healing, or, touch. But what it really is just like Rolfers talk about it and all, a lot of this is emotions that are stored deep in the body. So in rolfing, you'll see a lot of times you're doing a deep rolf on somebody, and then they'll start crying because, the emotions in the fascial layers is so deep. They don't even know they're holding on. They don't even know it's emotion. And this is everybody, basically. We all have our unconscious. But what happens is we continue to push it back down, and the more we can acquaint with it and kind of bubble it up and disturb it and bring it up in a loving, gentle way, so we're not really kind of traumatizing our body with it, then, then it can kind of be released. So that's why doing it in conjunction with like breath work, in conjunction with doing some sort of physical, whether getting a treatment or a session, or actually, going deep in yoga, or me with the stick, or Zen hailing, or one of these other practices. So anyway, I'm just kind of telling you a little bit, get you fired up at home for some of this breathwork practice. I want you to use it. So let's continue. So we're going to continue a little bit along the lines of sound, and we're going to talk about laughing, or ha. So more in Zen is ha. So in Zen, we talk about, releasing internal pressure, and in yoga, there's a lot of laughing yoga classes. Take laughing yoga, and laughing yoga is great because that's really all you have to do. Just when you start to laugh, you're firing your tandon, your hara, your midline, your bandhas almost, and it's rapid. They're short, and they're expulsions, short expulsions with your body. What that's doing is firing your brain, taking you out of the head, bringing you into the body, grounding you. So we talk a lot about the tandon and how, the midlines of spiritual importance, because it forms an oscillatory circuit with the brain. And, it helps us all the time in life. It helps us bear the burden of the freezing cold. We step outside, and we fire our whole muscles, our abdominals, but really then, boom, it's forming that oscillatory circuit with the brain. And we're doing this all the time. So unconsciously it's doing that, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. Sometimes it's hijacking us, because then we're just running around tight, not breathing. That's when it's hijacking. So we want to always try and be in control of that. And when you're in control of it, then that's where then it's called your locks, or your bandhas in yoga, or your locks in martial arts, because then you're just bringing subtle energy into your Mula Bandha, your Uddiyana Bandha, your Jahalahara Bandha, your tongue to the roof of the mouth. And you're using these subtle little techniques while you're breathing to either go into meditation more, or to actually clear something. So anyway, I know that's probably deep, but hey man, I'm deep. All right, so we're going to continue on. Again, it's still ha. So let's talk about ha. In yoga, a lot of times it shows up as laughing yoga, where you're and again, that's a great release of internal pressure, doing all the things we're talking about, but really you're not really taking it to all the different phonetic levels. So in Zen practice, the word ha is a very yang technique. It's ha, huh, huh, and there's different versions of it. So the deepness of it, the deeper the different levels of it. So you can be high pitched or low pitched. The lower, it's almost like when you get punched in the stomach, or you have to really there's a strain there. When power lifters are lifting massive gargantuan weights, it's that strain. That's helping to protect their inners. That's protecting them from tearing everything. So, and that's that inner abdominal pressure. That's basically like a truck-to-truck tire holding all our abdominal contents in. So anyway, try ha or laughing. Again, you can do it in the car. You can do it in the shower. Just do it. Just employ the technique. So again, cleansing breath, boxer breath, Om, Om, Ha, Ha, Hu, Ha, 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 Ha. You do it yin or yang, and then that'll bring us to the final one, which is a good release of internal pressure, and that's the Zen Shout. So it's called the Katsu Shout, and Zen warriors would use it before they went into battle, and what it would do is state their intention like, man, you better pack a lunch, dude, because you're not getting out of this battle, or it would strike fear in them. But so it's more the word TOH or IEI or yuts. So it'd be to or ai or yuts, 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 ai, to, to. And again, making those sounds, you have yuts, yuts, yuts. That's like deep here. So if you put your hand on your belly, yuts, yuts, you have to kind of dig deep to make that sound if you're really trying. I mean, if you're holding back, you're holding back. So, that's going to be on you. Put yourself in an environment where you're not self-conscious. Hey, grab the car, do the shower, find some alone time. There's plenty of parks out there. Nature, I can only tell you, that's my favorite. So I'm usually just out in nature all the time, getting my breath work on, trying to get my flexibility on, doing some meditating. So anyway, this podcast, I want to go over a couple more things and then encourage anybody who at home might be having some difficulty with their breath, or they want to enhance what's already there, or reset and recalibrate what's there. Maybe just do a session. Session's about a half hour. You get on Skype. I ask you a couple questions and we get right into it. And I can see your body, how it's reacting, and we can make adjustments. So then after the Skype session, you've got those tools, and then you have me as somebody who's, in your corner, and you can ask questions to help you refine your practice along the way. So anyway, couple more things, more along the lines of sound, I guess. When I talked about the different sounds, Om is up here, but then the other different ones you might want to try is hum, which is right here on your heart. Hum. Yam, right here on your solar plexus. Yam. Ram, right here on your abdominal. Ram. Navel, Vam. Vam. And then your root, real low. Lam. So all the way from low to high, if you're just like, hey man, I've got to do a public speak. I got to do some public speaking, or I'm going to sit down and do a music recording session, and I don't have all that much time, then you could just do a quick chakra cleansing. So that's the Chakra Tonal Scales, and I'll just do one for you right there, and you guys can kind of look it up, or I'll post some of the information online for you. But again, it starts Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Ham, Om. So it'll be Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Ham, Om. All right, guys, we're going to end with a quick meditation, 2-minute meditation. So for you at home, follow along. So this is going to be a gratitude meditation. So for you at home, I want you to think of something you're really grateful for. It could be a person, a place, a thing, a special experience you had, something you're really grateful for. And once you see it, now pinpoint it in your mind's eye. You're pinpointing it in your mind's eye, but maybe you can take it to a feeling. So if it's a person, maybe it's you hugging them, or how they make you feel when they walk in the room and you see their smile, or, a special experience you were trying to manifest, or that you're grateful for. Go to that. Maybe it's the pins and needles, maybe. So that's more how you would pinpoint that gratitude. So once you have it pinpointed, each inhale, we talked about taking breathing and then attaching inhale and exhale. So once you have that intention of gratitude picked out, each inhale that you take, you're going to attach that intention of gratitude on each inhale. So it'll be gratitude. And then each exhale, it's going to be pretty much the opposite. What's holding you back? Is it, things you're not grateful for. People, places, bad experiences, things you need to clear. Each exhale, if you need to, clearing, see it leaving your life, or how your life looks without it in your life. So that's where you're solidifying, just like on the back end with that pause, with the fight or flight. So with the gratitude on the front end, attaching it to each inhale, letting go of what's holding you back from being in that gratitude all the time, releasing that with each exhale. So again, we're doing a 2-minute meditation. So really, you should be repeating that gratitude 30 times, because we're breathing about 15 times a minute, you at home. 30 times on the inhale, gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. 30 times. So even if it's just an exercise in visualization and self-talk, doesn't have to be meditation for you, try it. So anyway, close your eyes. Get in a good position. And again, remember the breathing. The inhale, the pause, the exhale, the pause. And on your own, just start to inhale. Inhale that gratitude in, that feeling. Exhaling, letting go. Inhaling. Stay focused. If you find yourself wondering, go to your breath. One more breath. Acknowledge the pause. Root that gratitude in. Exhaling and letting it go. One last time. Slowly open your eyes. And I'll end with a quote from Taquan. It's a couple thousand years old. Very simply, the mind should be nowhere in particular. Guys, thanks for joining me in the Breathing Podcast, episode number 1. Doing this little practice. I hope to have some good guests on here. Continue with the dialogue with breath work and meditation. So anybody who has questions, special requests, hit us up here in the comments. Let us know what you want to see, what you want to talk about a little bit. And I really thank you for joining us here at the Breathing Podcast. You guys breathe well, stay flexible, have a great day. If you're experiencing breathing problems, or if you want to enhance your breathing for performance, perhaps consider booking a breathwork session either online or in person, where you'll learn some simple techniques to help you either overcome what you're experiencing or reset, recalibrate, and refresh what's already there. Online sessions are available via Skype or Google Hangout. Book your session today at zenhailing.com.